Welcome back, you degenerates, to the second episode of the night. We're doing a back-to-back. This one's the college football show. Another one. The DJ Khaled event you've all been waiting for. I'm Billy FFD. This is Ben and Diagonal, and I'm here with my good, great, wonderful friend, Mr. Morgan Watkins. Mr. Mo, I asked you 5 minutes ago.
Bet tonight.
I'll ask you again, how you doing?
Was better about 12 minutes ago.
Hate to say it. The square on the show has lost another one. It's as cold as it possibly gets from Morgan. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to get into it.
This is college football show. We're not talking NFL night.
Yep.
For the record, I did say to Billy, though, as we saw the end of the final game for Jacksonville, Cincinnati, that I wanted to be on the under for the Miami-Virginia game, but it had started before I had a chance to post it or play it. And, of course, it hits the under. Just my luck. Exactly what I was thinking would happen. Fuck me, right?
Just the way the cookie crumbles. Quick updates on the ranking, on the records. This one's closer than the NFL is. I'm 34-30-1. I had a couple bad losses last week, partially because of Mr. Mo Watts himself. We'll get into it in a second. And then Mr. Mo Watts is 27-31-1. You can easily turn that around with a big weekend this weekend. I do want to call you out. I told you Rutgers was to play. You talked me out of it off air, and I did not play it. And it never had a chance of not hitting. Rutgers was in the game the entire game. I want you to say sorry, and then I'm going to tell you about the other two that I tailed with you to help you out. But
that's why I want to know the other two. I don't even remember what my card was. I know everything's not going well, so it's just like pick and play, and let's see what happens. I'm throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks right now.
Yeah, and
it's nothing sticking. It's coming right back at me. Yeah. I apologize for talking you out of Rutgers. I still think that my logic was right, and I stand by my decision-making, but the game is played on the field, not on a piece of paper, or on the computer, or on the internet. So fuck you, Rutgers, you losers, and fuck you, Michigan.
Yeah, well, I think I'll be on Rutgers again this week.
Against Ohio State?
You talked me into the UCLA over when we went over the game.
Yeah, loved it.
I thought it was a good pick. I tailed it. I should have taken the under. I should have faded you. But that was close. That only lost by a point or two. That was real close. And then Oregon minus 28.5 never had a chance. It did, actually. They were trying. The backup quarterback was in. They were trying to cover at the very end of the game. Threw 3 bombs down at the end of the field. They just kept dropping them. It would have covered. They won by 22. It was brutal to see.
When you're cold, you're cold.
Yeah, and because of that, I had a losing weekend. If I didn't add to my card, I would have went 4-2 and had a great day. But instead, I added 3 plays, all which were losers. I felt like I was on the right side, but you can't always be right. But that's neither here nor there. There's some phenomenal games this weekend.
This is a good week. This is a good slate of games this week. We're into the real nitty-gritty. We're in fall. We're in football season. College campuses are popping off right now. Parties are great. I just want to say what we talked about last week, that fucking BYU game at 10 o'clock in the morning for us. What a stupid number that was. How dumb. That was like, they get half of it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I ever would have. Yeah, I was going to say thank you. I don't know if I have cloudy vision right now, so I appreciate it. That was one play I actually did get right. But it is great to be in the midst of football season. I love college football. I love college football significantly more than the pros. My Tennessee Vols came off a nice win last week, which always makes me happy. Got to play a little Rocky Top action. Sent Billy some nice Rocky Top karaoke from the car. Had a great time with that. So had one little highlight to my gambling and team that I want to cheer for and everything, since everything else sucks.
Yeah. I had a rough week in college last week. I went 0-2 on Friday. Went 4-5. I went 4-7 on the whole week. It was just bad. It was bad news bears. I mean, I talked about it on the show about Fresno, about how I felt like it could have went one of two ways. It could have been a look ahead, just being excited to go to Hawaii, or like this game coming up this week would be like a letdown game. So I no longer think that the Fresno in Hawaii is gonna be a letdown game. Didn't do the research on it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm not making an official pick, but I did want to mention it that it could have went either way, and I just so happened to be on the wrong side, and I do feel bad about that. But that BYU under, was the easiest thing in the world. I didn't watch a second of the game. I didn't.
I was at a wedding. Didn't watch any. I had one game on my phone at the table at one point. I don't remember what it was because I was dancing the night away. But yeah, I didn't watch any of it. And once you got me on it, I was like, yeah, this makes way too much sense.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the games real quick. Let's just talk about the Ole Miss Alabama game before because we haven't made the official play on it, but I made up my mind seconds before. I just don't have the info in front of me. So why don't you tell me what you like? You want to break it down a little bit. You're more the college football expert, and tell me what's going through your mind when you see 14.5 as the spread and 79 as the over. Highest over in SEC history.
It is a massive number. I don't necessarily think that total is going to hit. I do believe that's just, if it's the highest number ever, there's no way I can go the over with that, just based off of moral beliefs. There's no way. It's not possible. But who knows? I've seen crazier things. It's 14.5 right now. I don't know where I really stand for the game as a whole just yet. I know you have a play that you kind of just decided a little bit ago where you want to go with. What I like right now, what I'm going to be playing is Alabama first half, laying 7.5. I think this is going to kind of almost similar to the Florida game a couple of weeks ago with Alabama, where they kind of imposed their will a little bit early. And then you see a little bit of magic happen on the other side of the field. Last time against Florida, it was Emory Jones and Anthony Johnson. This week, it's right now Heisman frontrunner, who I would just like to point out, I did make a note of in the opening episode of the year saying Matt Corral Heisman. There's a chance he could be a good guy. He's a good sleeper pick. Just want to throw it out there. I believe he's up to plus 2,500 right now when he opened the season at like plus 8,000.
I have plus 150.
Okay, so yeah, it's definitely not anywhere close to what I was at. We know that I'm not the math guy. We know that. I can only carry so many fingers over. It's an interesting game. Like I said, I think to me, when I look at it and I think about it, it very much reminisces that Florida game for me. I do think Alabama will be able to impose their will a little bit in the beginning. I don't think Alabama is clearly the more talented team at every spot across the field. The one thing that Ole Miss has going for them, I do lean Matt Corral over Bryce Young. As much as I do like Bryce Young, Matt Corral, what he's been doing and what he's done for the past year and a half, after last year when Ole Miss went 5-5, he's now in his second year under Lane Kiffin. I do kind of like the Lane Kiffin effect against Nick Saban, though. I will say that because Lane Kiffin wasn't an assistant under him. He knows what Nick Saban likes to do. He's been in that war room with him. He's been in the film room. He's watched it with him and whatnot. I think I would probably lean with you, honestly, the Ole Miss plus 14.5. I do think Alabama gets out to the lead early, though, and kind of, slips up a little bit, gives it away, gets a little too comfortable. It seems like that's what they did against Florida. That being obviously their main challenge they've had so far this season. There's a little chinks in the armor when it comes to Alabama this year. They looked phenomenal and everything, but Bryce Young is still a very young quarterback. Brian Robinson was injured. I believe he's expected to play this week. However, coming off, I believe he had it was either a calf or a hamstring injury this past week where he sat out. Those things linger. They don't just go away, especially for a running back. Alabama, surprisingly enough, as much as they have 5-star recruits at running back, they are a high usage for their lead back every single year. So Brian Robinson, as their top guy, has so much wear and tear on his legs when he is out there for that in those games and everything. So I do like the 7.5 in that, but I like where you're going to go. And I know I already kind of spoiled it a little bit, but yeah, that's where I look at in that game.
Yeah, about 5 seconds before the show, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I didn't place the bet yet, but I don't think this line goes anywhere. I think that the sports books don't want to give Alabama a clean football number ever. because everybody bets on them. If anything, it goes the other way towards Alabama. I read something interesting, and since the college football playoff era, Alabama is 47-2 straight up at home as a favorite. But during that same amount of games, roll tide, as they say, the Crimson Tide themselves are only 24-25 against the spread as home favorites. I don't know, man. I think the over hits as well. It's just something about this game. Both offenses can score like crazy. There's not a lot of defense. Last year it was pouring rain during this game. I remember this game. I definitely tuned in for this. It was pouring rain. You know what? You know how many points the teams combined for? 111. It's gonna be beautiful out. You think that the Bama defense isn't as good as it has been in previous years? I think that Matt Corral is an absolute stud, and I think Lane Kiffin knows what it's like to coach a potential Heisman winner. He's gonna want the ball out against Bama, but I also know that I don't know. I feel like they try to run the ball a lot because that's where they had success. That's where Florida had success against the front seven last week. Now, was that last week or 2 weeks ago? I lost
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah, because they played what, Mercer last week.
Yeah, they had just a little weak tune-up game again, basically.
Yeah, like that's ridiculous. Ole Miss is coming off a bye week. They had all week to prepare. Listen, man, I don't know. You give me a hook.
You did say something interesting to me right there that I was thinking about it before you said it, but it kind of got me a little bit more intrigued. Alabama against the run hasn't been as strong, and we saw against Florida, both Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson can run the ball a little bit from under center. And, when the play breaks down, make some things happen. Matt Corral is a very good improviser at quarterback and a very good scrambling quarterback. That intrigues me. Now I'm thinking a little bit more and more about it as it goes on. Like, this is, especially for a guy who's now the Heisman favorite and everything, this is the game where he needs to show up. He needs the ball out if he wants this. He puts up a huge huge game in this. Somehow they win this game. If he puts just up big numbers, obviously nobody's expecting Ole Miss to win this game, but if they can keep it close, put up numbers and stuff, that's going a long way for him.
Yeah. I mean, this is the battle of the Heisman. These two favorites for the Heisman. So
yeah. Yeah, I think they last time, again, I don't know where the numbers are right now, but I know I saw them or even money a little bit ago, and Corral just pulled ahead not too long ago. It's going to be a good game. I'm excited for it. Alabama games are always fun to watch. It's always interesting to watch. This is top talent and everything. Ole Miss is sneaky good. They always have a good program. I think Lane Kiffin is actually an underrated coach at this point. There's a time where everyone thought he was a very overrated coach, but I definitely would say he's an underrated coach now.
There's a lot of talent on the Ole Miss side. It's a lot of talent that nobody knows about.
Could Lane Kiffin make a return to USC? I don't know.
Interesting. I don't think so, man. He likes Ole Miss. He likes being under the radar, I think.
That USC job's a little bit more high profile, which I think you kind of can't help think about.
Yeah, but some people, they don't want that high profile,
Yeah.
One quick thing. I pulled up the stats from last year's game. Mr. Snoop Connor and Jerrion Ely last year combined for 248 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns last year against Bama. So keep it in mind, it's going to be a high-scoring game. My official play is going to be Ole Miss plus 14.5. I don't know if I'll give it out by Sunday, but I'm going to be on the over. It's going to be such a fun game to watch that it's going to be hard for me not to just be like, okay, let's get all the scoring in the world in this one. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. There's another big game. There's a bunch of them. We'll touch this one quick before we get into actual picks. We were talking about it before the show started. Wisconsin at home against Michigan. This is a game that happens every year, and every year Wisconsin beats the balls off of John Harbaugh and the Wolverines. Harbaugh. I mean, you say it the same way, just without the New York accent.
Harbaugh.
The Boston Habit.
Not from Boston here. We're from Philly and New York.
Is this the year that the Wolverines finally beat Wisconsin at home? Because it's like 20 years since it's happened.
I was telling you a little bit ago. I think it is. I actually do, and I hate myself for saying that because I'm not going to play it. There's no shot in hell going anywhere near it.
But I feel like we just have to talk about it.
Absolutely. As a game to just watch, and as football fans and college football fans and everything, it's a top 5 game of the week. I won't go near it with a 10-foot fucking pole when it comes to picks because my dumb ass ain't going to get it right. I know that for sure. But I do think Michigan could get the job done. I said it last week with the Rutgers pick. Obviously, the Rutgers didn't cover and everything, but last week, the trick that Michigan has going, it's working for them, is the power running game. With Cade McNamara running the show, their running backs, they were average. I don't remember what the number was I said last week when I had it, but they were almost over 300 yards per, on the ground per game right now. That's what you need in a Big Ten kind of football game where it's going to be tough. It's going to be physical. You need to be able to pound the rock and control the pace of the game, control the elements, control the crowd. That Michigan crowd's going to be into it. They're going to be ready to go. I do think Michigan could win this.
Do you think the better play would be the under? Because we know Wisconsin just going to run the ball.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What's the number?
43.5. It's low. That's an NFL low number.
Yeah, I think I would honestly.
I agree with you. I'm not touching the game. Like, I'll tune in during parts, just because it is a big game. But I'm not touching it. I feel like we need to talk about it. I just can't trust our boy, Mr. John Harbaugh.
I could see this being a big field. I could see this being a 19-16 game.
Yeah, it's very similar to how the Penn State-Wisconsin game was.
Yep, just an absolute bloodbath. They're just beating each other up and everything.
Graham Mertz stinks.
Yeah, it's funny too because I think it was either last year or the year before. Everyone, like Wisconsin fans, were just like, "Oh my god, we finally have a quarterback." He went out in his first game of that year, which he threw 4 touchdowns, and like, "Oh, look at this, holy shit!" And he is garbage. Absolutely.
It could be partially the play call, but he doesn't look good. That NIL money he's getting it's gotta be getting pulled soon. He's got like a couple $100,000 T-shirt deal. I looked it up because I want to know how much money this fool's making to be about as good of a quarterback as I am, and I don't have an arm, so like, man, I should just put that jersey on. I have one of the other big games that we'll talk about on my card, and I love it. It's my favorite game. I can't wait for it. But why don't you kick us off with your first pick?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the one that we're both on the same side again with, actually. Just knock it off right there. Wake Forest laying 7 against Louisville. Wake Forest is number 24 team in the country. I love Wake Forest. I think they're an awesome team to root for and everything in the ACC. I think that Wake Forest, we didn't talk about the beginning of the year and everything. Wake Forest could win the ACC. Mm-hmm. There's a really good shot at it right now. Giving 7 to Louisville. Louisville's got some nice players. They're not, but there's a big difference with this game. The Cardinals rank 12th in the ACC in their rush defense, and they give up the worst yards per rush allowed. Whereas Wake Forest has 3 running backs on their roster, all with over 170 yards rushing. They have their 2 top receivers have combined for 537 yards through the air in the early going. Their offensive line has only given up 5 sacks so far. Wake Forest quarterback Sam Hartman, he's going to enter this game as the number 4 rated passer in the ACC. He's passing for 240.3 yards a game, has 10 total touchdowns compared to just 1 interception. He protects the ball. They move the ball. They run the play action pass extremely well, which they will be able to set up against this Cardinal defense the entire time because they cannot stop the run. They've given up 8 touchdowns on the ground so far in the early going this season. Louisville itself, if you look at just trends and stuff, Louisville is 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 games against Wake Forest. So I really like Wake Forest to win this game. I think we're seeing a program that's really in the start of building, and obviously it's never going to be a monster or anything, but there's always those teams every year. Like UCF has been that one past few years where you see a team that's a little bit lesser known that has a good little run and everything. This could be a Wake Forest kind of run where they do a couple nice years and do some things. So -7, give me that all day.
Yep, and I'm also going to be on the first half. Everything he just said, I 100% agree with. I'm not going to go further into explanation. Full game -7, Wake Forest
We're
first
we're
half.
big Demon Deacon guys this week.
Yeah. It's worked. It's worked a couple times. I've taken Wake Forest first half, and it's hit pretty well. If you like them for the full game, they're going to be leading the whole time. I really don't even think this game's all that close.
I don't either.
I
I
think
think
it's
this
be
is
a
a
20-point
double-digit game.
game.
I think I told you in the beginning. Before we were even recording, I think this is going to be a double-digit game. I don't think Louisville is that good. Like Louisville has, I think his last name, the quarterback is Montgomery. I can't think of what his first name is. Like he's a very exciting player.
No,
He
isn't
is
it
fun to
Cunningham?
watch.
Cunningham.
Cunningham Montgomery.
They
It's a long last name. It's one
they
of
wear
the
the
something.
those shiny jerseys. Like
Yeah,
get that shit out of
I
here,
can
man.
picture him, but I can't think of what his name is. He's a nice quarterback. They can do some things. They have a lot of nice playmakers and stuff. And really, when you break these two teams down, they are quite similar. The talent is very similar with both of them. The defense for Louisville just is not on the same level as Wake Forest is. Like I already said, that running attack, which is Wake Forest's strength, it plays right into their hand. And again, like we said earlier with that Michigan game, you can run the ball consistently, pound the rock, you control the game. You control the tempo of the game. If you can win the line of scrimmage, you are going to win. This is a team, like I said, already gives up only 5 sacks so far in the season. That is controlling the line of scrimmage. I love that.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I've been on Louisville once before this year, and they did me dirty. They're on my do not bet list. I don't like them. I don't think they're very good. I don't like the jerseys. I do like Cunningham. I do think he's a dual threat quarterback, but I think Wake Forest is just too good this year. They've been pounded on teams. My first game is way off the radar.
It's Malik Cunningham. That's your right.
Malik, yes, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember his first name either, and you couldn't remember his last name.
Yeah, I pictured him because he's fun to watch. But
my first game, probably my favorite play, the one I'm probably most confident in, is gonna be Arkansas State money line against Georgia Southern. These are for the true degenerates out there. It's for the games that nobody watches, that you can't find a game, you can't find a stream for. Those are the ones that make you money. I talk about it when we go into college basketball, and you see me betting Furman all the time. Arkansas State money line. This is the play. Arkansas State has put up 455 yards per game, 360 of which have been through the air, and Georgia Southern's allowed 327 yards passing per game. Now, Arkansas State is currently ranked 54th in the nation in offensive scoring, averaging 31.8 points a game. Georgia Southern has allowed 14 touchdowns and have yet to record an interception. Not ideal going against a very high-powered offense. The Red Wolves, who are Arkansas State, for those people who don't know, they've lost 3 straight games. But I do think it's a great spot for them to get right back on track against an embarrassing D in Georgia Southern. Real quick, the Red Wolves are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games overall, and 6-2 in their last 8 as underdogs. Give me the Red Wolves. Ow! Yeah, I knew you'd like that. I knew I could. That's an ad lib.
Not bad. It's not bad. I love the good true degenerate. I love when I get the boys. We talk deep college football games. Absolutely love it. It's kind of like gets my blood going, like Action does. When we talk these teams that no one cares about. Texas El Paso. Nobody's talking about my Miners out there, but they're fun. All these great teams. I like that pick. I'm probably going to ride with you on that one. To be honest, I do like that a lot. I know we I don't remember what it was for, if it was college basketball or something. I know we talked about Georgia Southern once before with
I talked about it week 2, I think. I
was that what it was?
Week 2. Yeah,
I remembered it somewhere. I just can't think of where to place it. I'm going to stick with a little bit of a bigger one. Obviously, I'm sure I'll look at much more college football as we go further, but we're going to stick with the ones that the public really is going to be looking at and going for. So we're going to roll with Oregon laying 8 against Stanford. Plain and simple, Stanford sucks. They're not good. They stink at home. They are 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 home games. They're not good. The big thing that I think is important about this game, you don't even look at numbers or anything, not anything like that. It is very important imperative for Oregon to put up impressive games every single week. They have the impressive win against Ohio State on their resume. If they want to make the playoff and everything, they cannot have a let-up game. They need to continue to put up big numbers every single week to show that they belong in those matchups against the Alabamas, against the Georgias, that they should be there at the end of the day as one of the top 4 seeds. They're in the outside, maybe. I don't know what they're ranked. I think they're ranked number 3 right now, right?
Who? I'm sorry.
Oregon's number 3 right now? Okay,
yes,
they're in it right now, but they got teams coming in hot on their heels. Ole Miss wins this game. They're going to move up pretty far in the standings. Arkansas is very hot right now. Penn State, number 4 in the country. As much as I hate them, they're there. Iowa, number 5 in the country, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, or I guess I don't know if I did with this show. I love Iowa, -3 against Maryland on Friday. It's not going to be on this because it's not going to get out in time at all. Oregon needs to put up those showing. They need to have that so those voters who are going to vote go put the teams in there for the playoff keeps it going. Kavon Thibodeau played 10 snaps last week against Arizona. He's back. He's going to be back for a full workload against this Stanford team that's going to be without their best offensive lineman, Branson Bragg. He is out with an injury. Now we're going to have a chance for Thibodeau to really anchor that Oregon defense that has been inconsistent but has a ton of talent on it. He has already stated he is going to play through the season. He's not going to sit out. He wants to keep playing, which I respect that. With him and Derek Stingley down at LSU, who's coming off an injury, they both have said they are playing. They are not going to sit out this season to get ready for the NFL. Love that. Absolutely respect those moves. Oregon's offense is obviously significantly better. Stanford's defense is giving up 404.3 yards per game right now in the early going of this season. They can't stop anything. The Cardinals Stanford Cardinal are 4-9 against the spread in their last 13 games as an underdog. I already told you they're 0-4 in their last 4 home games. The Ducks are 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 following a straight up win of more than 20 points. 8, I think, is disrespecting Oregon right here. I think Oregon wins this game by 2 touchdowns at least. I think we're looking at like a 42-20 game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird line. I don't know who Oregon plays next, so I don't want to call it a look ahead or anything like that. I don't know. I'd lean that way as well. Just like off the top of the head, it's not something I'm on. Oregon just did me real damn dirty last week, so I'm laying off for Oregon, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all because I do know that Stanford's really bad. Next one, my favorite game, the one I will be tuned in to watch, eyes glued to the TV. Cincinnati versus Notre Dame. I'm going to be on Cincinnati money line, and I'm waiting currently to see where the line goes. It's currently 1.5. Cincy's currently laying 1.5. I do think that the public bets this down back to where Cincy could possibly be a dog. Shout out to the bookmakers for finally giving Cincy some respect. That's something I didn't see. I thought Cincy would be a 3-point dog in this one, just based on like where the number has been going for them. Because Notre Dame, big school, they just blew out. Who they just blow out in a game that they were not supposed to blow somebody out last week?
Sorry, say that one more time. I wasn't paying attention.
Notre Dame. Who did Notre Dame blow out last week?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, that's right. Yeah, because the Mertz double pick 6. Listen, without that, Notre Dame is hardly beating Wisconsin. They're two real bad interceptions that both went into the end zone. I believe Cincy's the better team. They had an extra week to prepare, just similar to how Ole Miss did. They were on a bye last week. I think Ritter is a stud. Cone is questionable to play. He's got a leg injury. You don't know if he's actually going to play. Every single year, Notre Dame just throws up a stinker game. Like every single year it happens. Like, you can't go back in history and be like, oh well, they had a really good season. Not since the 1940s. They've always had one real shit game, and I think this one could be it. I don't think it is. I do think the game's somewhat close. But Cincy needs this win more than Notre Dame does. Cincy needs this win, stay in the playoff conversation. I think that no matter what Cincy deserves to be in. but you know how the committee goes and whatnot. We've gone over that 100 times.
Cincy, I was listening to something earlier today. This is a little bit off topic. The best school in the country, college football wise, who's not in a Power 5 conference. I think it's Cincinnati.
Is this an opinion or is this like a fact?
It's just an opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
It's Cincinnati.
Yeah. Who do you think?
I don't know. I've been going back and forth on it all day, just trying to figure out who I think it is. It might be Cincinnati.
Gotta be. They've been consistently good for a few years now.
Yeah, I was them, and then because I was also thinking the other side of it. Who is the worst Power 5 team? And I think that's Oregon State. So Oregon State or Arizona, one of those two teams.
Oregon State just won last week.
Doesn't mean they're good.
It's a big dog.
Doesn't mean they're good.
Real quick, shout out to Minnesota for losing as a 30-point underdog, 30-point favorite. Hate to see
Love
that.
It. Pretty sure I mentioned that last week on the show also as a lean I had, and I didn't touch it because I'm an idiot. But
the leans sometimes are just.
I said it, and I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if they blow this here.
Yeah, that was like
just something to ponder. Those who are listening to the show and watching right now, think about it. Who do you think the top team that's not a Power 5 team is, and who the worst team in a Power 5 is? Interesting.
Let us know in the comments. Let us know down below in the comments. Who's your favorite non-Power 5 team?
Worst Power 5 team is Penn State.
Oh, well, just shut the fuck up. You're biased. Real quick, Bearcats 8-0 straight up under Fickle as an away favorite. Listen, Cincy needs this game more than Notre Dame does. It's that simple. Give me Cincy money line. Hopefully, more public money comes in on Notre Dame. I do hope Cone does play because the game would be much better. If he doesn't, I don't see a way that Notre Dame even comes close to beating Cincy.
I agree with you on that. I've been looking into that game. I will be on Cincinnati as well. I'm very much high on Cincinnati. I love Desmond Ridder. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in college ever since he lit up Georgia last year in the bowl game. Absolutely love him. He's a guy who's playing for an NFL future, for a very high draft pick positioning, and positioning himself better and better every single week. I love those kind of games. This is a show out week. This is how you get the voters to throw you support. This is how you get yourself to move up in the ranks. You take down the teams that, they might not be as high ranked as they were and everything. Notre Dame is a monster name to put on your resume, no matter what they end up. It's just like Oregon with Ohio State. Doesn't matter if Ohio State's not as good as we thought they were. Ohio State is a monster name to put up on your resume as a win. I do think Cincinnati can win this game. I think they can win it pretty convincingly, even if Cone plays. I think Cincinnati is as good of a coach as Brian Kelly is. I think Cincinnati is a better coached team. They are significantly more disciplined than Notre Dame is, which goes a very long very long way in a game like this.
I agree. But give me your next bet. What do you got for us?
So
give me some heat.
Speaking of that team that I said is the worst in the Power 5 team, I will be on Penn State 12.5 versus Indiana. Again, I don't like Penn State, but Penn State's
11?
clicking.
Minus 12?
Minus 12.5, yeah.
Okay.
Minus 12.5
wait, what?
Indiana. My first point for this one, it is a revenge game for Penn State. Everyone who watched college football last year saw Penn State had one of their worst seasons of all time last season. They opened up the season as a top 10 ranked team and lost their first 3 games of the season in convincing fashion. They lost in Indiana last year, 35. I'm sorry, I believe it was 36 to 35, and 34 33. It was a 1-point game, I remember. Indiana had a controversial 2-point conversion that they hit right as the buzzer ended and everything, and the game was over to win the game. This is revenge all over Penn State. You're coming into Happy Valley. We saw it with the whiteout game. You play in Happy Valley and everything, and this may not be a whiteout, but that is a hell of a place for an incoming team to try to play and whatnot. Indiana opened the season as a ranked team. I had them early in the season with them. They embarrassed me in the very beginning of week 1. I will never bet for them again. Penn State averaging 31.5 points per game so far this season. They're only allowing 15 points per game on defense. That defense has been playing extremely well. They have played good teams too with talent, so it's not like they've played scrubs. Indiana's defense is allowing 29.3 points per game right now on the season. Yes, their offense is averaging 29 as well, but they have not faced a defense of this caliber for them. The fact that, like I said, kind of with Oregon, that Penn State is the number 4 team in the country right now. They have a chance to play for a really big playoff bowl, to get into that Final Four and everything. Their schedule is only going to get tougher from here on out. They still have Ohio State. They still have Wisconsin. They still have Michigan. Like, there's games that are going to be in the way for them now. They cannot afford to slip up against a team like Indiana. They need to come out. Sean Clifford has played phenomenal this season. When he is clicking on all cylinders, this offense goes. When we see him kind of off for a few series, this offense stales. It goes nowhere. I do think he's going to put together a full game. He's going to look to really show out, like I said, because he also was embarrassed against Indiana last year. He did not play very well. I'm going to roll with Penn State. Penn State is 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 overall. They're also 5-0 in their last 5 conference games at home. So give me Penn State.
I like that. That was one of my leans, so I do really like that. I didn't do enough research. I now have your notes. I will look over them. I do like that play, though. I think it might be a winner.
I don't like how this has been going.
Well, I'm trying to gas my boy up every now and then.
I know.
Jeez.
Majority of pretty much everything I've said all night, even like, I like that. I like it.
Dude,
you're on the right side of things.
I think you're back. I mean, I told you the under was play today, but you didn't text me about it. Let's get into my last official play. Is going to be Memphis minus 11. They're laying the 11 against a bad Temple team, one of your alma maters.
I like the one of my alma maters. Yep. Definitely, it's on the list.
Listen, Memphis isn't a phenomenal team like that they've been in the past few years, but they're still off to a 3-1 start. They lost to UTSA, which is probably gonna be ranked next week if they get a win this week. Which I leaned last week and I didn't take it. I leaned UTSA, wind up not taking it. So the leans sometimes do better than first gut instinct sometimes is better than all the research, But the Tigers are 9-4 against the spread in their last 13 following a straight-up loss. Temple's not a good team. They have 2 wins against really bad teams in Akron and Wagner. But then they lost to Boston College and Rutgers. When they lost, they've been outscored 88-17. It's not great. The Memphis D is a top tier. I will say that, but you're a nice little, the Owls, the Hoots, that old line has given up a sack on almost 9% of dropbacks, which is, it's not great. It's not great. Once out of every 10 times the guy drops back, he's getting sacked. Memphis offense should be able to do whatever it wants. They're top 10 in yards per play this year. If they want to run the ball, they'll run the ball. If they want to throw the ball, they'll throw the ball. They kind of wait and see what the defense gives them, and then they go on from there. I love this Memphis team. I think that they are a decent team, and they should blow Temple out by 30 points.
I completely agree with you.
Thank you.
I think Temple's in that conversation for one of the, if we're looking at the worst teams in college football historically. They are just atrocious. Temple, they haven't been this good at this either, but Temple is a basketball school. They haven't had back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, they were very good.
Brief stint in the early 2000s.
When John Chaney was coach, they were actually a very competitive program.
Yeah.
And they've been in transition for the past decade. So that's neither here nor there. We'll talk college basketball when it gets later that time of year. Dude. I do like that pick a lot, though. Memphis is a very underrated team. One thing I do worry with Memphis is, even though it's 2 weeks out now, it's still just letdowns after that Mississippi State game because they got away with a win that they really did not deserve. They should not have gotten. They were just gifted one by the refs. I was actually talking to a buddy today. SEC refs have to be the worst refs in all of college football. It is amazing how bad they actually are.
I feel like
which is astonishing.
In football gets worse and worse every year across not even just college football, but it's the NFL as well. Like, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, I completely agree. But yeah, I like that game. I think that's a good. I think that's the right side of that one. I don't. Like you said, Temple stinks. We suck. It'd be nice if with Philly being such a massive city, we'd have a college football team that was local and good. But because even if you want to say Penn State is claimed by Pittsburgh technically.
Yeah, it's way closer to Pittsburgh than it is to Philly.
Yeah, like we don't have closest we have is Rutgers. Like
didn't Nova cover the spread last week?
They did.
Yeah, see, there you go.
They did.
I
love that.
I will say I just pulled up my notes from last week. I did say it last week was a letdown game, and that's why I leaned UTSA my +3. But I don't think you're gonna have back-to-back letdown games. Like, no, they almost won that game. They went for it on I think it was 4th and 7, and then UTSA marched down and kicked the field goal to win the game. You have any more plays? Because I have a couple leans, and then I want to ask you a question at the end.
All right, yeah, I got one more I'll talk about tonight. I will have another 2 more posted in the article, which y'all can find at Fantasy Football Degenerates podcast. It will be posted up there. I got to do a little bit more research. I only a few. We've been on overdrive mode to get ready for all the content coming out. Put out a lot for you guys tonight. I hope you appreciate us. We're
doing a lot this week.
We're in overtime tonight. It's been a long week for us. Some of us are tired. It's been a long one. So I will have a lot more plays and leans coming out. I'm sure the card will be bigger this weekend and everything. So do take a look at the article. It'll be the college football 6-pack. I don't know what I think this is week 6, but it very well could be week 5. I really have
definitely
lost
week
track.
5.
It's week 5. All right, I've been wrong on what week I write.
Because you have week 0.
Yeah, that makes sense now. I kind of forget which week it is, and I do this in every single sport. So it's good to know that it is week 5. It makes my life a little bit easier to keep track of what I'm writing. But my last play that I will be going through tonight is one of my favorites. I talked about both of these teams early in the year. Arizona State, UCLA, over 55.5. These are 2 of the more explosive offenses, not only in the nation, but obviously out in the Pac-12. UCLA is averaging 445.3 yards of total offense per game, which leads them to 38.5 points per game. Arizona State is putting up 446.3 yards total per game, averaging 32.5 points for their side. Neither of these defenses have really shown too much of being able to stop anything. Dating back UCLA against Fresno State a couple weeks ago, Stanford last week, they didn't get a high score like I expected it to or anything. But their defenses haven't been all that great. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jaden Daniels, both have done some really nice things under center for both of these teams. I said it earlier in the year. I love Jaden Daniels as a Heisman candidate. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, but he still is a really fun dual-threat quarterback. Both these guys are dual-threat quarterbacks, which makes it very fun to watch. UCLA really needs to kind of get it going so they can get to a better bowl game and everything. Obviously, they came out hot in the beginning of the year. Kind of slowed down a little bit right now, but I do think that they're going to bounce back. I don't have a ton into this game as I'm still kind of researching it, but the over is 6-4. The last 10 times these teams have met head-to-head. Also, UCLA games this season, their average total that they've hit is 65.4 points per game between them. So I really like that I can get this number at 55.5 and see where we go from there.
All right. A couple leans, and then my last lean will lead into the question I have for you, and then we'll close it out. First, Arkansas +18. It's not an official play because I feel like the book is begging you to take Arkansas, and I don't know. Georgia's real good. I mean, yeah, they played Vandy, but even when you play a team like Vandy, like you let up points. You take it easy on some in the fourth quarter. They didn't allow any points. I didn't confirm it, but I was listening to the ESPN radio on the way home from New Jersey today, and I heard can't confirm that Georgia had more points scored than Vandy had. No, it was more touchdowns than Vandy had first downs. I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Vanderbilt's one of those teams you think of as the worst Power 5 team.
Yeah, but Arkansas's been playing great. I told you last week it was a lean. I wound up not playing it. Texas A&M stinks, and Arkansas was going to win outright. That's what I said on the show. I want credit for it. I'm not adding to the record because I didn't bet it, but I will say I told you A&M is overrated. Arkansas's been playing real well. They've been playing real well. It may be too many points. Let's see what the line movement's like. See where the money is. We'll go from there. Like I said, Penn State -12.5. It was one of the leans. He talked about it before. Air Force minus 11.5. I don't even remember who they're playing, but they're much better than whoever the fuck they're playing. I'm just trying to run through them quick. Marshall minus 10 and UConn plus 14.5. I'm on the UConn train. This leads to my
question. I actually
question.
wanted to ask you that. Do we think UConn does it finally?
Do we think that UConn has turned the corner?
They win a game.
No, they're not winning the game. I don't think they're going to win the game. I think they're keeping it in between 2 touchdowns. They almost won last week.
What a miserable game that's going to be. UConn and Vanderbilt, two of the worst teams out there.
Since that coach left, he didn't even get fired. He was like, all right, this thing fucking stinks. I'm out of here. Do you think that they're finally turning the corner with the defensive-minded coach? I don't know, man. It could be that. No?
No,
do you think they can cover the 14.5? Because I think they could.
I do think they can cover the 14.5. I do think they can win outright, honestly. But I don't think they're turning the corner with that program and what they're doing. I think they need a complete overhaul of what they have going on up there. I do think they can win because I think Vanderbilt is that bad.
I'm gonna sprinkle now. Now you said it, I'm gonna have to sprinkle. I can't get to the window with a UConn plus 14.5.
I mean, you give me plus 475 on a money line for UConn, I'm gonna sprinkle that. I don't hate that at all. It's not gonna be an official play, of course, but if there's a game that UConn can win this year, Vanderbilt sucks. They're one of the worst teams out there.
For whatever a bounce back is worth, losing 62-0 is as good of a spot to bounce back as possible, you know?
Yeah, that's I don't hate that UConn. If you want to take the 14.5, go for it. I feel very confident they would cover that number.
That makes me so much less confident that they're going to cover this number.
I just put in a bet for their money line right now. I like it.
Oh boy!
Do you have any other leans or anything you wanted to go through?
No, that's about it for me.
I had a couple other little ones that I'm looking at. Texas Tech, West Virginia over 55.5. Every time the two of those teams meet, it is a shootout. And it's some of the most fun football games you will watch the entire season. I love the trend to just continue there and it to just keep rolling. Washington money line over Oregon State. Oregon State is a 1.5 point favorite right now. Like I said earlier, I think Oregon State is one of the worst teams in football. So I'll take a chance on Washington. Again, all these are just leans, not official stuff or whatnot. But I don't hate Washington there. Washington historically does put together a very good defense that I think can really stifle Oregon State. Northwestern plus 12 against Nebraska. This one is weird to me. Northwestern, yes, isn't as good as they were last year, but Nebraska's not very good. And I don't understand why they're 12-point favorites. So I don't hate that with the plus 12. I also don't hate Northwestern money line at plus 350. So something, just little things. I like your Marshall. Marshall actually has moved to minus 11 now since you said that.
I move lines, bro. That's what I do.
Yeah, Air Force is playing New Mexico.
I put my finger up. I don't know if you saw. I was gonna try to be like, oh yeah, by the way, they played shitty ass New Mexico.
Like that.
The Lobos.
I do also like. I think I lean Kansas State plus 11.5 against Oklahoma.
Yeah, look ahead.
I'm all the way out on Oklahoma now, 100%. I am not a Spencer Rattler guy. I don't like his attitude now. He was getting booed by the Oklahoma faithful last week. They were calling for Caleb Williams to come in and take over that job from him. He had a shitty attitude about it. Kind of reminded me of Ben Simmons a little bit. And I'm not for it. I'm all the way out on Oklahoma, which sucks because I did think this was their chance this season. But nope. See you later, you losers.
That game can go either way because it can go. It's a letdown game it's like a look ahead game for Oklahoma, who you said the rivalry game next week against Texas, or it can go, try to get the offense going, break out some stuff they haven't used before, get it ready for Texas. I don't know. It can go either way. I mean, Oklahoma's still 3-0.
Yeah, they are, but they're not impressed. They have not been impressed.
They're not a good 3-0.
No, not at all. They're probably the worst 3-0 team that's out there.
Yeah. I thought about adding the K-State to my thing, but they killed me last week. They made me feel stupid. I have one more real quick. Fresno State -10.5 and the under against Hawaii. Hawaii's turned into an under team, and Fresno plays late at night, but not Hawaii late at night. And I'll be watching it. That Degen special.
Kind of
Fresno defense is good. The only issue is if Fresno puts up like 50 points, it might get a little worrisome for me. But I told you it was either going to be a letdown game that week or the week after. It happened this week, so therefore it's not going to happen the following week. You don't get back-to-back letdown games. Mr. Mo Watts, close this out.
Yes. So, like we said already, find our picks at Bay and Diagonal on Twitter. You can find the college football six-pack at Fantasy Football Degenerates podcast online. We will also post it on the Twitter, so you can go ahead and take a look at it. There will be more picks up there. Just got to do a little bit more research. Some of these leans got to figure out if I love where I'm at and stuff on them. Billy seems to like what I'm doing this week, so it kind of scares me. But hopefully that means we're turning the corner. All right, let's calm down now. But you can find us at Big Thing. You can find myself at MoWatch26. I said it with the NFL show a little bit ago. You can watch Joe Green really chirp me as I keep falling apart and just down astronomically bad right now.
Real quick,
hopefully
go follow at Not the Real Joe Green 1. New Twitter, follow it, love it. He puts out heat.
I guess I'm gonna have to give it a follow as well now. I guess it's my oblos, man. We got some oblos we got to do.
Oblos.
Billy, what's up with you? Where are you at?
Find me Billy FFD on Twitter, Ben and Diagonal on Twitter, Fantasy FFD_podcast on Twitter. DFS article will be back out this week. I had to take a week off. People were chirping me too hard, got in my head a little bit. You know what I did? I went quietly, won a bunch of money in DFS last week, so now I'm back, ready to go. Brinks trucks getting backed up, beep. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, now I'm ready. I can't wait for this Saturday Slate. I'm so excited.
It's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be a good week. Games. Greg, where can we find you at?
Oh, at Greg Gersh. Greg. Thanks, by the way, Greg, if you're listening. I found out that Greg listens to the podcast again. Well, now he listens to the podcast.
Greg, if you're listening to this right now, you made a terrible trade, my friend.
That's what I was going to say. He made a terrible fantasy football trade. I murdered him, but it is what it is. Yeah, good luck. We will see you guys next week.
Everybody have a good time gambling this weekend. Gamble responsibly, please.
Yes.
Make sure that you are responsible with it. You do not want to fall down bad. You do not want to fall down the deep rabbit holes that we find ourselves in as the true degenerates that we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. We'll see you fuckers next week.
See you next week.